Hello and welcome to the Select Characters Podcast. I'm Sam Yates, and again this week I will be your host. Christopher Anderson unable to make it this week, but I do have a statement here which says, quote, "The loftiness of my creative ambitions cannot be wasted on such an endeavor fit for the likes of Morlocks and Mole People." Okay?
That is a direct quote.
That is what he said. If you want to send him an email, selectcharacters@gmail.com. Also missing Jamie Van Lint, unfortunately, this week. Quote from him just says, meh. But who I do have is my old pal, Enrique Cancel. What's up, man?
I'm doing good. Always a loyalist.
Glad to hear it. So it's a duo cast this week. Might be a little bit shorter than what you normally expect, but we've got some What You Playing and we got some news and all the usual segments, so let's roll right into it. Enrique, what have you been playing this week?
I actually picked up Pokemon Sun this week, so been sinking my teeth into that. So Pokemon is one of those games that I always pick up no matter what, because I don't know, I don't know if it's like the nostalgia of it or just the familiarity of it, but it's always a fun game to pick up. Even though they don't change the formula too much from year in and year out, you're still collecting your Pokemon, you're still battling it out. Sun and Moon are a little bit different, though. This time you're kind of in the Aloha region, which is, I guess, like a pastiche of like Hawaii and some of like the neighboring islands.
Okay.
So you got that theme. They got rid of gym leaders. Now you have like kahunas, which are kind of just island representatives. So there's no like official like get a badge and then you proceed to the Pokemon League or anything like that. But I did see screenshots of them building a league in somewhere on the island. So I'm wondering if that's like a post game thing, like in previous games where once you beat the game, you can go and do like this whole Elite Four and all that stuff. But it's pretty fun so far. The only annoying part is that it has a really long ass tutorial. So I feel with like the game being out for so long, you wouldn't need something so drawn out to teach people how to play the game.
Yeah, I wonder if they're expecting like a group of new people or something.
I'm guessing that's what it was. I'm guessing that they've added, made a couple of new changes. There's Pokemon variations, and it feels refreshing enough where they thought it was justified in having a tutorial. But goddamn, man, like the first probably 30 minutes to an hour was me just smashing the A button over and over again, trying to get through dialogue you can't skip.
That sounds like every time I've played Pokemon.
Yeah, it's good to know the series is consistent, so super fun.
And what is it about that got you excited besides the nostalgia thing? Is there new mechanics or just new Pokemon?
It's the new Pokemon, dude. That's always what it is for me. It's just I like seeing the new Pokemon, the evolutions and all that, and I just think it's kind of cool. It's really weird. I'm a very big kind of like sucker for aesthetics, and I like seeing the designs and the fact that they don't reveal all the Pokemon that are coming out or like all their evolutions. It kind of just makes me curious. We're like, man, I want to cast it and evolve it just to see what it turns into. Like that's like a really big point of satisfaction for me.
Yeah.
Even if it's a complete shitty Pokemon, like I'll at least level till it evolves and then I'll put it away. I'm like, all right, done with you. Back to the sock drawer.
Do you get any of the old school classics, or is it all? Totally
yeah, they actually have some of the old school classics, and they have like Aloha versions of them now. So I guess the story behind that is that because it's like a different ecosystem, you see little different variations on them. So they'll be like different element types, or they'll have like different like coloration patterns and things like that, which is kind of neat.
That is surprisingly scientific for the Pokemon universe.
Right? Like, I think in the original games you had Vulpix, which is like a Firefox, and then in this one, you have like the Alola version, which is an Ice Team one instead. So it has like a little different design, so...
Okay.
It's kind of neat.
Yeah, that sounds alright. Do you mess with the multiplayer online stuff? Single player
I do it after the fact, but I always feel like I'm way behind. Because every time I do that, it's like, I feel... Pokemon kind of reached this point where... It's easy enough and casual enough for anybody to pick it up and play, but they added so many subtle intricacies with like the IVs and all these like the hidden stats for Pokemon that, like, well, you have half the community just playing the game for the sake of playing it and like, oh hey, it's a Pokemon game, let's enjoy it. There's that other half that takes it insanely seriously, and they have like their own eugenics program set up to like breed out the imperfections and have like their perfect itemized Pokemon.
Yeah, all right.
So when you get online, you usually get decimated by one or two people. You're like, okay, well, what the fuck was that?
Yeah, the same Pokemon, but they have hidden stats that are just like much better.
Yeah, and like there's certain moves that work better with that specific Pokemon, and then the Pokemon have like different natures and I guess personality traits is the best thing I can describe it out. So you could have two of the same type of Pokemon, but they'll have like completely different like traits, and those traits can actually modify their attacks or like give them like passives that give them an advantage over one thing over another.
Kind of neat.
Yeah,
Cool.
it's pretty intense, and I don't know, like I've never gotten that deep into it to where I do that kind of like research on it, but it's there. It's fun that the option's there.
Yeah, definitely. My brother is, he's kind of grown up with Pokemon, so my entire kind of visualization of that whole segment has been from watching him play them, because I'm not super interested. But he also ran into the difficulty curve thing as he's, gotten older and kept playing them and stuff. Like, the difficulty's not there anymore. He was trying to tell me about this thing called a Nuzlocke run that almost makes it almost roguelike-ish. He said, I can't remember what all the rules were, but one of them was you can only catch the first Pokemon in an area.
Yeah.
And then also once they die, they're dead. You have to get rid of them.
Yeah, I've seen that rule like that once. Because, normally, when they die, they just faint. You can revive them. But yeah, if that happens, you have to actually release your Pokemon.
Yeah, and he was doing, I think those were the two main ones. That way you can't really get as much intake, and if you mess up and they're dead, then they're gone. And also, yeah, I think that was it. I think he said when he beats a gym, he has to give one of them away, no matter what.
I've seen one where like you're only allowed to have 5, and anytime you catch, like you can't have more than 5 at any given time. So if you want another Pokemon you catch, you get to release one of the ones that you have. So,
some pretty cool community rules, though. I thought that sounded interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of like, it reminds me of Skyrim that, after a while the community is so big, they kind of put those self-imposed rules to just kind of give yourself a challenge.
Yeah, because I guess the game itself on its face isn't really made that way.
Yeah, especially after, considering how many years the game's been out, after a while people kind of just already know the ins and outs, so you have to do something to keep the game interesting.
Yeah, for sure. So initial impressions, you'd say, are favorable?
Yeah, it's fun. But I don't know. Nintendo has a really good habit of just kind of bringing out those classics and always, dusting off what made them great in the past. So you're kind of left with it's a really nice shiny new version of like something you're comfortable with.
Cool, that's awesome. Anything else?
No, just mainly that. Pokemon and then like a little bit of WoW here and there, like usual. And I tried doing the Heroes of the Storm earlier this week, and I couldn't get into it.
Yeah, I did that. I'm at like 18 games out of the 30 I need.
Nice. Have there been any major changes since you last played?
The one that I noticed the most that I thought was the coolest is these abilities that you get on the characters that are quests. So where you normally, how every time you level up, you press control and pick your skills.
Yeah.
You can pick some that have little qualifications attached to them that'll say like, hit 100 heroes with this skill, or pick up so many regen orbs, or just, as many things as you can think of. And then once you complete that quest, you get an upgrade, like a larger upgrade to one of your base abilities.
That's kind of interesting.
And I thought, I think that's like a cool way to play it. I've been grinding through the versus AI matches, just trying to get to 30. Because I like Heroes of the Storm just fine, but not enough that I really want to sink into it that deep.
Right.
But that's the main change I've noticed. There's a few new maps that weren't around when I was playing too, and I like the maps. They're still cool.
That's one thing I always liked about Heroes of the Storm over like the other traditional, like I guess team-based games. What do you call them? MOBAs.
MOBAs, yeah.
I don't know. Like it feels like the map's a little bit more interactive.
Oh yeah, and there's more than one. So just like from that, yeah. And each of them kind of have a different strategy and a different way of approaching it. There's some cool new ones too. One of the ones I played, there's each team has a little like Zerg place, and then you capture the thing and your corral fills with Zerg, and then they all release at the same time.
Your team cool.
And their team. Yeah, so you end up with just this huge Zerg wave going into the other people. That was pretty fun. And I've seen more StarCraft related maps than I think there used to be.
Yeah, because there was actually I don't think there was any. There was like a real shortage of them beforehand. I think there was like a couple aesthetic ones, but nothing specifically StarCraft themed.
Yeah, so not that I could remember either, but they reskin the minions and everything, so it's all totally StarCrafty. And
nice.
Another one where you pick up nukes and then drop the nukes on the enemy structures and stuff.
That's always fun.
So yeah, just more content, which is something that obviously we expected to see.
Yeah. I really like how Blizzard also kind of just went full ham with the characters. I know when they brought Cho'Gall forth, he's one of those characters that it actually takes 2 people to play one character.
Yeah, that was the last time I played Heroes of the Storm was when he came out.
Yeah, so I don't know, it's kind of neat that they introduce characters like that. So it shows that they're trying to at least diversify a bit more and rather than get sunk into like the just another mobile category.
Yeah, they're doing their own thing for sure, and it does work overall. It's just not something I'm in the mood for exactly right now.
Yeah, and I don't know. That's what it is for me. Like, it's not that I don't like it, but like when I tried playing earlier this week, I think I played like a match, and it just didn't hold my interest. There were other games that I'd rather be playing.
Yep, that's about where I'm at too. But just got to get these in to get a skin for Genji, who I don't even play.
But you got to have that prize.
Yeah. Well, plus it came at a time where I was just like, okay, there's like nothing I want to play right now. Not really.
Right.
So it's easy enough to just whatever. I got to do this 30 times. Maybe by then something will have caught my interest. It's just something to stem the tide for a little bit. Yeah. Outside of Heroes of the Storm, I finished up Tyranny.
So how was it?
It was fine.
Did the story improve at all?
Not really. Actually, I'm still thinking about. I don't know exactly even if there was a story necessarily. I'll try to talk about it without spoiling, but if I do accidentally, then that's just going to happen. But you kind of resolve that first issue with the timer thing, and I was right about the timer not even mattering. Basically, you can get that stuff done and still have tons of days left. It's not the focus isn't necessarily on the timer as much as I thought it was going to be. So you wrap that stuff up, and then you kind of move out into the larger world, and you go around and take care of all your stuff. I know that a lot of people have been disappointed with the ending. I didn't find that the ending was such a bad thing, but it could be because I've also become very used to the way that like a serial drama is produced. Like I was just like, oh, that was cool. Let's see what happens in the next episode.
Okay, so the one thing that I was thinking about the ending was that it leaves like a very gaping cliffhanger.
Yeah, and it kind of does, but it's more of like it's not like a cliffhanger in the sense that something feels unfinished. It's like a cliffhanger in the way that you've finished everything in this episode. Like I think that as a self-contained process, it kind of wraps up all its little odds and ends, and then it's like stay tuned, for the next thing. And it's just that the next thing was going to be the coolest thing ever. That's the problem, is because like you were kind of geared up for this moment and you were like ready, like let's do this, and then it was like, okay, well, next time. Right. So next time on Tyranny.
So I guess would you say it's a game that has a good conclusion, but not necessarily an ending?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. I think it wraps up all the events of like itself very well.
Okay,
like an episode 1 kind of style.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick it up because they kept harping on like the whole morality system and how like, oh, we're turning that on its head, and this is a game where you get to play the villain. But the more I read on it, the more I'm realizing that that's not really true, and it's kind of a misnomer.
Yeah, I wouldn't put a lot of stock into that. I really wouldn't. Mostly it's like, what if, or at least to me, the game is, what if you wanted to be fantasy Indiana Jones? That's what it feels like to me, because you do, the way I played it, or at least my playthrough, which I think was not the standard playthrough, but obviously I don't know what the other paths look like. From what I read, I played on the anarchist path. Mm-hmm. And it basically just turned into, after that little section, it was like, now go get this artifact, now go get that artifact, now go get a third artifact, now go get more artifacts, is what it seemed to be. And also collect all these spires, which are like your base of operations. There's like 4 or 5 of them. And so like none of that seemed story motivated as much as it just seemed like a series of events.
Right.
So, which was cool. I mean, I didn't mind it. It was just like frustrating that everybody was so stubborn all the time. Mm-hmm. Because you would go into a place and I'd roll up and then somebody's there and they're like, you will never take over my land that I won't bow to Kairos, blah, blah, blah. And I'm over here going, look, dude, I just need to go in there and I just need to talk to somebody real quick. It'll take 5 minutes. I'll be right out of your way. And they're like, you shall not set forth on this path, blah, blah. And they just keep going on. And I'm like, okay, dude, look, man, like, if you want to be a butthead about this, I hope you don't have any plans tomorrow. and just like having to just slaughter my way through everybody because I couldn't talk to anybody. They were all so damn stubborn. But I don't know if that was the way I was, like my playthrough or whatever, but the dialogue options just weren't there.
No, I've heard that too, though. A lot of the reviews mentioned that it seems like it's a very binary system where it's not so much morality is gray. It's more, hey, you're going to be a dick. It just depends how much of a dick you want to be. And a lot of people are complaining that it seems like a lot of those resolutions, it almost feels like there should be another way, but 9 times out of 10, you just end up like massacring everybody because the game just doesn't give you an option.
Yeah, or like once you piss somebody off, they stay pissed off like permanently. Like some of the factions, you would think that there would be a way to get your favor back up with them afterwards. Like one situation I could think of is this faction hated me, and I found one of their dudes just tied up somewhere, and I was like, all right, I'll let this guy go, and then maybe we'll get back to good, or we'll be on the path to start talking to each other again. But it was like, nope, you can either leave him here to die, or you can just stick him right now.
Oh, that sucks.
It was like, well, okay, I guess, right? Like, I don't know. At least maybe I just let him stay because maybe at least then there's some probability that he might find his way out of there. I don't know.
See, which is weird because it's Obsidian, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's weird because I remember they were the ones behind Fallout New Vegas, and Fallout New Vegas had a great karma system with that, where you could slowly do things to build your reputation up with factions, and after a while, if you realize like, oh man, I'm really not digging these guys, so let me go back and I can just start killing some other people and then bring lower their faction but raise these guys up again.
Yeah, or move them around a little bit. Yeah, I guess they're kind of stuck in the way that there are only so many enemies and encounters in that game. There is no kind of spawning system or anything like that. Just the enemies you got are the ones you got. And in my playthrough, basically everybody was an enemy, so I just slaughtered my way through the back half of that game. Now that could have been my fault. I mean, that could have been some dialogue choice I picked or something, or somewhere where I went wrong. Mm-hmm. It could play totally out differently for somebody else, but that was, everybody being so stubborn was kind of a bummer. And the other thing that is not great about it is the pacing. Mm-hmm. There's a point, maybe, I don't know how the acts work, but like after you're through the timer and then just a little bit past that, where you start to get a leg up on it, and then you just steamroll through the rest of the game.
Yeah. I thought I kind of felt that. Was it not Pillars of Eternity? Was it Pillars of Eternity?
It might have been. I didn't finish Pillars.
It kind of had that same feel for me, that once you get to like about the halfway, 2/3 point of the game, you can just kind of steamroll everything after that.
Yeah, and it's like it's more than that too, because obviously that's like an RPG trope. Obviously, at a point you become so powerful that it's not a problem anymore. Mm-hmm. But in the early parts of that game, the encounters were really good and very well designed, and you had to think through, and you had to set up your consumables beforehand, and you had to kind of make everything work. And then, so that part was very satisfying. And then I got the guy who's basically a tank, and in his skill tree, one of his abilities says gains a burst of speed at the start of combat, which I know why they put that in there, because it's supposed to be so he can get in there and engage and tie everybody up.
Yeah.
But I ended up using it to get everybody else to stand like on the other side of a bridge, or wedged into a corner, or inside an archway. Okay. And then I would run him up and tag everybody, and then run him back with his speed and just set him down in the place where nobody could get past him.
Oh.
And then just have the other people just rain down hell from the other side because nobody can get over there.
Oh. So interesting.
Yeah, and then so that then, made things start to be a lot easier, which then evolved into things becoming much easier, because the game, the item rarity tiers, somewhere towards the back half, you're just getting loaded down with so many artifact and masterwork items, and you never have any time to use them.
Oh, so it's a high reward system?
Yeah, it's a what? Sorry?
It's like a high reward system?
Are you saying high reward?
Yeah.
I don't know what that system is. What is that?
Well, no, like that you're basically constantly getting inundated with like really high level items.
Oh yeah, totally, absolutely. At the end of it, there for sure. And then like, so you get flooded with all this stuff, and then you like snowball through the end of the game, and then it's just over. that's like the pacing is weird there. Like you're too strong, and then here's a ton of awesome items, but you never get to use any of them enough to level up because the items have their own EXP bars.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got artifacts falling out of your pockets there at the end. And some of them you can't even use because you kill these big bosses. They drop these awesome artifacts, but there's not another combat encounter. Like the game is over at
so
that
just kind of
point.
staying there.
Yeah, just like, okay, all right, this is neat. But so I think that's another thing that you get a lot of these really cool items. You gain some really crazy cool abilities through the use of your spires and the bases.
Mm-hmm.
And all of that happens at a time where the game is basically over and you can't do anything with it. So you never get to let loose with this like awesome power that you've gained. Or, at least not against anything, period. But I mean, not against anything that is an actual challenge or interesting to kind of work your way around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just pacing wise, it's definitely off. It's just got a lot of rough edges, which I thought was just surprising. That are like just rough enough that I would say wait for some patches, wait for a sale, wait for what is inevitably going to be DLC.
Right.
I mean, without a doubt. And maybe get that big combo pack together.
Yeah, it's a good way of putting it, I guess.
I guess, yeah, but there's just a lot of things that felt off about it and not satisfying.
It makes me wonder if that has to do with like just the nature of like the CRPGs in general.
It could be,
because I think what was the other one that came out? It was Pillars of Eternity, and there was the other one that was
Divinity.
Divinity Origins, yeah. Like it just feels like a lot of them start off strong because they almost like start with like this really refreshing take on the RPG genre, but as you progress, I guess like the novelty kind of wears off and you start seeing like the flaws in mechanics. Because I don't know, I feel like that's very consistent with those CRPGs where once you get like the right kind of string of characters and mechanics, it's really easy to kind of exploit the rest of the system.
Oh yeah, sure. And I mean, a lot of their strengths come from the same characters. So that's like another thing. Like, do you have interesting characters with weird little gimmicks? Mm-hmm. And this one definitely does have some cool characters. I mean, I'll give them credit for that. Some of the guys are neat. There's like a guy who can't take his armor off, so the only thing you can do is forge it.
Oh,
like those little kind of doodads that make
cool.
those characters, make those characters interesting. But it's also very short. I mean, I finished it in what, like 3 days?
Yeah, because you weren't playing that long before you started like Factorio or something.
Yeah, and I didn't even play it that much. I have no idea how long the playthrough took me. I mean, if I had to guess, maybe 17 hours? Like at the high end? That's very short for those games.
Yeah, I was about to say, because like, when you put it into context of like just an RPG in general, that seems like a very short amount of time. Huh.
Everything else I've played to the point that I got tired of it way before I even thought I was close to the end.
Well, I mean, maybe that's a good thing for this one. Maybe it's meant to be like a nice self-contained little short journey.
Yeah, maybe. As that, yeah, I could see that.
You play just enough of it, like I said, before it kind of starts running out its welcome. Especially if what I hear about there being a sequel in the works is true, you kind of don't want to sit there and wear yourself out on that title.
Yeah, I hope there is. I hope there is a sequel because I do want. There is something to be said about how great it feels to like just roll in as you and say, you know what? Fuck all this shit. I'm in charge. Everybody get out of my way or get under my boot heel. And then like to then apply that to the way that the ending works and then just take it up, to that next level is going to be cool. I do want to see whatever happens in the second one.
Okay, so they did something right with the story then. If it leaves you with like that motivation towards the end.
Yeah, I mean, if nothing else, but like a pure, straight up power fantasy.
Sweet. Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely got that going for it. But I don't, like I said before, I don't know how much of that is attributed to just my playthrough, but probably something similar.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it's worth picking up though, at least at some point.
I think so. Maybe just to encourage more of those.
Right.
Still a fun way to play a game.
Yeah. Anything else?
Let's see. We talked about Heroes of the Storm. And
Overwatch, dude. How are you liking the new Echo Point map?
That map is cool. The modes are even cooler.
Yeah.
The map is fine, but the modes are what really make that map good.
I still haven't tried like the 1v1 mode. Like, can you talk to me about that a bit?
So when you go into When you go into the arcade, which is that new section where they put all that stuff, there's a couple things that are cool. The first thing is that each mode has a little bar underneath it, like a signal bar.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see the relative popularity of all the modes.
Oh, it's kind of nice.
Yeah, it's a nice little feature. So you know sort of what you're in for as far as queue times.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them will say, most popular or something. And so you jump in there, and 1 versus 1 is you and another person on that Echo Point map, and you each get a random hero, and you're the same person. And then you duke it out. But you're always identical, so it's always a mirror match, and then it's best of 5, I want to say.
That's kind of cool, though I can see how that can be kind of soul-crushing.
It is, yeah, it's definitely true. It's very important to get the first hit with a lot of people.
Right.
Like, if you're Winston on Winston, you definitely want to get the first hit.
Mm-hmm.
So it's fun, man. It's just cool. It's just a new way to play that is interesting. I wish it was a little bit faster. Just let's go, right? It's only 1 versus 1. Let's just get this done. But like between each one, it's got to have that fade out and the who wins and the here's your next person and the load back in and then the 10-second timer. I do wish it was just real quick. Like I want the time between lives to be almost like just a respawn,
almost like a Zerg.
Basically.
Just keep, die and immediately come back.
Yeah, and then just give me like a little pip up at the top to keep track of who's ahead. I just don't need all the animations and stuff in between when it's just me and another dude.
Yeah, I could see that because I could see that from a balancing standpoint when you have multiple people, because you don't want that kind of like that gameplay option where people can just keep throwing the bodies at a objective.
Yeah, sure, exactly. Like just have it, just a quick freeze frame. Okay, he won. Here's your next dude. Let's go.
Yeah, especially when it's like 1v1 and like there's no real capture the point objective. It's just literally a death match.
Yeah, exactly. But the dynamics of 1v1 when you're both the same person are actually really cool.
Man, well, I'm about to look up some dual Reinhardt moves, see how that goes.
Yeah, it's great, man. And it's great when like they're 2 matches up, but then the next one you get like your dude. Like I had the guy was 2 up, and then we spawned in as Roadhog, and I was like, "Yep, this is gonna go my way."
Nice.
Because the way the Roadhog duel is like you don't want to get the first hook.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Because it's like Reinhardt. You don't want to get the first charge because it's easy to fuck it up, and then you're like left out in the open.
Yeah. It's just interesting. And then 3 versus 3 is not mystery. You get to pick who you want to be. And then it's almost Counter-Strike in a way. Once you're dead, then it's 2-on-3, and then somebody else dies 2-on-2. There's no respawning until everybody's dead.
Are there class or character limits? Like you can't double up?
I don't remember. I don't know. I never saw anybody double up out of the 5 matches I played of it, so I'm gonna say that no.
Okay, nice.
I'm gonna say that it's 1 of each type or 1 of each character, and that one's cool because it is like once you're dead, that's it. You're just watching and hoping that the other 2 people on your team can pull it out.
Oh God, you flashbacks. That's off when you're the last man standing.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. It's terrible, especially because that last person standing is the healer. Sometimes, I'm just like, I know you can kill these 3 people as Lucio, man. Get it done.
A lot of environmental takedowns.
Yeah. It's cool. It is neat. The dynamics of the character picking taken from the regular game and then compressed to that size, and then with the added sort of constraint of the fact that once you die, you're gone, makes it a pretty compelling way to play.
Nice. Do you think it's this is a little bit more attractive than like competitive, for example?
No, absolutely not. It's just fun to jump in there sometimes, and they're giving you like 3 loot boxes, I think, a week.
Really?
For playing those modes, for getting 9 wins. And 1 versus 1 and 3v3 have one for just your first win as well.
Okay.
The other ones I didn't play too much. There's one that's all brawls, just randomized.
Yes.
Which is cool. And there's one that's mystery heroes, which is also cool.
I really want them to bring back more like player versus environment ones though, because the Junkenstein's event was awesome.
I think they've got to, man. I think they know how cool that was.
That'd be awesome. I mean, especially if they could like change the maps around for a little bit. That'd be great.
It might even be maybe they just do every holiday. There's a PvE.
No, I mean, yeah, I'd be happy with that.
Or a mode. I mean, I would play that mode. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Oh, dude, like I like those horde mode games because I mean, like they're especially great if you just kind of want to warm up a bit, or if you don't have the time to sink into like a PvP match. You can just get up a couple people and then do a couple waves of horde mode, and you're like, you know what? All right, I'm loosened up. Let's go do something else now.
You got to get the fingers hot, man.
Yep.
I don't want to get started with cold fingers. I would, and it's funny because then my next thought is like, well, what if there was loot in there, and then what if you could upgrade the characters as you played PvE with them?
Get a little more in depth.
Yeah, and then it's not even Overwatch anymore. It's something else completely. Yeah, but just I like the mechanics of the characters. It is an FPS. I like the way they move and the way they shoot. It all feels really good.
And also, at least for me, like those unique mechanics for the characters felt really different when you put it into like a PvE kind of environment as well. Because it's one thing to have, like a Bastion going against like a team of other players, and then having that same character using it against like a wave of just AI controlled enemies.
Oh my god, dude! The first time you get to go into turret mode and just
mow everything
through,
down.
Yeah, that's gonna feel really, really good. Just playing McCree was amazing. Shooting the Deadeye on like 11 or 12 targets.
Yeah,
is
right.
A feeling that cannot be rivaled by anything.
I don't know. Yeah, there's something to be said about it, just being able to apply those. I don't know, those otherwise normalized abilities, but like they almost feel like a little bit more OP and more satisfying to use against just like those really stupid AI.
I mean, the computer's not going to complain.
Exactly.
They're just going to sit there and take it. So, like, give me a little bit of that. Let me feel what that's like. Just give me a hallway that's a mile long filled with robots, and then let me put Hanzo on one end of it.
Oh, God. Be fine just using, just charging through every single enemy there.
Just nothing but, like, a sea of that little deedly-deet noise. Like, just 5 minutes straight of that deedly-deet noise. That'd be awesome.
I'd be okay with that. I'm
yeah,
on
me
fire.
Too. I'm the best. And the robots aren't going to tell me different.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. But I think that's it for the arcade. There's been some patch changes and stuff that I haven't gotten into competitive yet. I've been too busy grinding through Heroes of the Storm matches for basically no reason. But what are you
I'll get into that at some point.
All right, let's see. I've got some news here that Chris was very nice enough to cultivate for me. So let's go through this. And let's start with an article talking about how some PS4 Pro titles are running slower than the base hardware.
Oh, really?
That is incredibly unfortunate.
It is. It's kind of like the Skyrim Legendary Edition having like worse audio performance quality than the original one.
Oh, did that happen?
Yeah, dude. Yeah, when it came out, there was a huge issue with just like the audio for all, like I think all across all systems. I think they've patched a lot of it out now, but I think especially on PC, it was just like a severe downgrade.
Yeah, it seems like for this, it's not every game. It seems like the main offenders are Watch Dogs 2 and Deus Ex: Mankind Divided, both having frame hitching while the regular PS4 runs at 30 just fine.
Damn, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I could see how you could do that accidentally, just like expecting more power than you're going to get.
Right.
Maybe upgrading a little too far, but man, they got to stop that from happening.
It's just like a compatibility issue, I guess.
I don't know.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, it says that at worst there's like dips to 20 FPS and stuff.
Huh.
But I mean, they are throwing more at it to get like the 4K scaling,
right,
and that kind of thing. But I think it's like a quality control issue, I would say. I mean, it's up to them to go through it and then send it back, because if it comes out and it isn't performing as well on your super powered console, that's not a good look.
I think it's always funny when like an upgraded system has trouble running older titles. And I know that actually happened back in the day with Grim Fandango. If you had played Grim, because I remember I had an issue with this was before they had the remastered edition coming out, but I think it was about probably a year 2000 or something like that. And I was like, you know what? I feel like playing Grim Fandango. Let me dig that up. And there was a level where, have you ever played Grim Fandango back in the day?
I have actually never played it.
Oh, well, there's an area where like you're in a casino, and like it's an adventure game, so there's all these puzzles you got to do, and you basically need to have you're in this like freight elevator, and you need to get to this hidden floor that you can't access anywhere else. And the way you're supposed to do it is like you mount this forklift, and as the I guess the elevator's going up to the top floor. You can drive the elevator, the little forklifts, like lever between the doors, right, like to catch on the like that middle level. So as the elevator's going up, it'll actually stop like right on that hidden floor. And it's really easy to see, so you can see what all you got to do is just literally drive forward and then it'll stop. But when you played it on a newer system, I guess the frame rate was too fast, so the system wouldn't allow you to do it. Because like the collision wouldn't actually detect that you were hitting it on time, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was they actually had released a patch to slow down the frame rate during that area to allow like your character to connect to the wall there. So is that
that's funny?
Yeah, no, I mean it's kind of funny though. Like when you have a system that runs, I guess it runs too well.
That's funny because I had the same problem with a game called Willy Beamish.
What is this?
It's also an adventure game, and there was a thing where you had to do something, and I was like 11, so I'm trying to remember. You were in a kitchen, and you had to do something with butter to make somebody slip on it, and you had to put it on the floor at the right time, and the frame rate was too fast to make it almost impossible without like saving and loading like 100 times. It's like an old adventure game.
Oh god!
It's funny that I just thought like that is where all the problems are. It's adventure game centric. I haven't played the Pro. I don't think I'm going to get one. But maybe we could just think of this as growing pains and not anything malicious.
Yeah, I mean that's what I expected to. I know I have a buddy of mine that he kind of hopped on the VR train, and he says the Pro is like ideal for it. But I don't know. Other than that, I can't really see myself having a reason to upgrade to like the Pro, especially if I already have a PlayStation 4.
Yeah, and if your TV is only 1080.
Yeah, so I mean, there's no. Maybe down the line with like Mass Effect Andromeda and other titles that can actually like fully utilize that 4K. But till then, it's kind of like, what I have works.
It'll happen. I've been saying that with the TV I've had for like 8 years.
You still got one of those old like tube TVs?
No, I got a nice flat screen TV. It's just 8 years old now. Yeah. It's like a Sony something.
I mean, if it still works, it still works.
Yeah, most of the stuff I do is in here in the office on the monitors anyway.
Yeah, so you'll be fine.
And we have another news item that says Pokemon Bank not getting compatibility with Sun and Moon until 2017. Talk to me about it, Pokemon Master.
That kind of sucks. Did the article mention like any reason why? Like, was there kind of like programming issues with it?
It says it will not have compatibility, and it does not say why.
That's weird. Because I'd like to think that these games are usually planned out pretty far in advance, so you'd imagine that when they were kind of coming out with the idea of Pokemon Bank, they would have had that kind of architecture kind of pre-built and ready to go.
So what is the Pokemon Bank? Do I collect interest on my Pikachu?
Unfortunately, it does not. Like the Pikachu prices have normalized since then. But the idea is that you have... It's just basically... before there was no real reliable way to trade Pokemon back and forth between generation games. Like, you literally had to go like find somebody like, hey, let me trade this to you. Hold on to it. Here, trade it back to me in this other game. So the Pokemon Bank was kind of like it's basically an off-site, cloud service that you can just upload your Pokemon from any game to that account on your Pokemon Bank, and then re-download them on any other game.
Oh, well, that's a good thing to have.
Yeah, it's convenient, but I haven't used it in a while. I know you had to pay for it at first, so that was a big kind of like a damper on a lot of people.
So it's going to be... Basically, now you can't get your old crew that you played on the last Pokemon game. You can't get them into the new version until next year.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that is a bummer.
I mean, it is, but at the same time, though, when you think about it, I mean, like, part of the whole appeal of getting a new Pokemon game is just dealing with new Pokemon. Like, I don't think that people are really going to be that bad off until they've beaten the game and then they want to kind of start throwing their min-max teams together again.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
So, I mean, I think it's...
Probably by then.
Yeah, I think it's fine. I mean... Yeah, I mean, it'd be nice if you have like that really cool, like legendary team that you want to work that you've been working on. I mean, it'll be cool to have it when you're competing later on. But when you're first starting the new game, I mean, it's been out for what, like 2 days? All of 2 days. It came out on Friday, so I think they'll be fine waiting. Won't be that big of a deal.
Okay, all right. Last news item: Electronic Arts sets up new rules for sponsored content.
Ooh, tell me about these new rules.
They have new rules for sponsored content, which means that people like YouTubers and Twitch streamers and stuff, They are dividing them into separate categories. One of them is supported by EA, and one of them is advertisement. Those under the advertisement tag are effectively straight-up advertisements for a product with direct influence or material provided by EA for advertising purposes, such as controlling what is said about a game before release. And the other flag is supported by EA, which is sponsored content creators who are given access to the game, like review copies and stuff like that. But EA has no direct influence on the content of those videos. They can say whatever they want.
Okay.
And they have to use these specific watermarks that either say supported by or advertisement.
Uh-huh.
And these changes are aimed to provide more transparency between content creators and electronic arts. Okay. That's kind of cool.
I mean, that's kind of cool that, at least from a consumer standpoint, it kind of sets the division line.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. I wonder why they thought that maybe that's supposed to be like a community-focused move.
Could be. I know,
gain our trust.
I know within the recent years, that's kind of been a hot spot for a lot of just video game companies in general, publicity. There's that whole issue of like native advertising and articles that creep up every now and then of like Microsoft paying YouTubers to kind of, hey, review this system or review this game, but in order for you to have access, you can't say anything negative about it, or you're only allowed to, hit these points, kind of thing.
Yeah, now you would know, right?
Yeah.
Like if it was that, like if you saw a good review and it said advertising, you'd say, "Oh," right?
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like a good thing overall. I mean, they obviously have a reason to do it, and EA is definitely one of the more maybe lambasted, maybe not as well liked people out there. So maybe they're just trying to change their image up a little bit.
Although EA's been I think they've been on the up and up lately with, I guess, releasing more, better quality games and just in general being more consumer oriented, it seems like.
So that's probably part of that change. I mean, I'm down. Why not, right? I like to know that what I'm watching either is or isn't like somebody's own words.
It is, but I guess I'm a little confused about because it also seems like a weird division between advertisement. Because I guess, see how I can word this. Because, so the issue that people had before was that sometimes you'd have a YouTube streamer or Twitch streamer or whatever that you couldn't really tell if their opinion was legit or whether they're it's biased in some way because hey, EA pays for us for this sweet hotel room and all expenses paid so we can come check out the game. So look at this awesome game they put out. But I'm trying to see what would fall under advertisement then. If it's just like YouTube players like, hey, this is the new game coming out, check it out. And then kind of just... I
mean, I imagine advertisement would be like...
touching up on the features and not really like providing their own opinion on it.
Yeah, or get in here, play this game, be really excited about it, and you love it.
Right.
Like they get to control the messaging on their advertisements. That would probably mean like I wrote a review, okay, I have to run it by them, and they have to say, okay, change these 7 words to outstanding, amazing, and super great.
Which I mean that I can understand, especially if they plan to do like let's play for the game and as serving as an advertisement.
Yeah, but anybody who found themselves in the advertising bucket obviously would not try to like sort of stage their content as a review because that wouldn't make any sense.
Right.
Everybody would instantly not trust that.
Yeah.
Well, assuming that those people knew what these buckets were and how they were, divided.
Yeah, but now I'm kind of wondering if maybe this is like a red herring, and now because I look at the supported by EA tag, it means it's sponsored content creators who are given access to the game, including review copies, press events, travel expenses, and so forth. EA will be fitting the bill for those perks, but will have no direct influence on the content of videos. But the keyword being no direct influence. But I don't know if that means that they can now kind of lavish all these really nice perks on the player and then kind of subtly influence their opinion. But because it's not under the hashtag advertisement, their hands are clean.
Oh shit! Hey, how about a hotel room in Hawaii? Here's a check for $20,000. Make a review about this game and say whatever you want.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Meanwhile, hey guys, This is an advertisement. This isn't.
Oh, and then you assume that's a nice little look at my right hand while my left hand is punching you in the nuts, isn't it?
I mean, I don't know. Granted, I'm probably being a little bit more cynical and skeptic of this, but I think that's the first thing that crossed my mind. Because it seems like a weird division that they're like specifically going for, like, hey, this is going to be specifically advertised content for us, and this is just supported by us.
Sure, exactly. I mean, what is that? That's the same phenomenon as when you put a $10,000 watch next to a $3,000 watch.
Yeah,
I can't remember what that's called, but that's a definite behavioral signaling thing.
Yeah, but it's like it's what's the term? You're right. Can't think of the term.
Yeah, I think in that specific realm, it's like price fixing or something. Like, I'm getting a great value by buying this other thing because they're basically identical. So I'm not stupid. I'm not spending $10,000. But in reality, you did just spend you're still dropping $3,000.
Yeah, it's like by giving people that comparison point, you are automatically like tricked into thinking, oh well, this is clearly the better of the two.
Yeah, is that true? I mean, I don't know, maybe, but I see your point absolutely. That if you were going to do it, that's an excellent smoke and mirrors way to do it because they could give them anything they want under the supported by EA. I mean, look at this list, right? Mm-hmm. This list says press events, travel expenses, review copies, perks that have no direct influence on the content, but normal people are not as unswayable as you would believe them to be. I mean, outside of a few journalistic people that I do trust.
Yeah, and it's weird because, and it's funny that, I mean, the Tech Raptor article kind of, what do you call it? It cites the way Nintendo did it with like their sponsorship program, remember? Where they kind of went a little bit scorched earth and they were like taking down content that wasn't directly sponsored by them and all that, and that got a lot of media backlash. But
yeah. Does that then, that's another interesting point too. Does that then give them the right to go after anything that isn't under these two buckets?
Oh, maybe. I don't know. Could be.
Like, if you want to get with us, you need to be in one of these camps.
Right.
So that then they touch the message everywhere.
Yeah, and
and do you trust EA to not maybe heavy-handedly touch the message even on their supported by section?
It's interesting. Like I said, I mean, I'm probably just being really cynical and paranoid about it, but it's weird that that's kind of like the first thing that jumped to my mind when I was thinking about the division of them, supported by an advertisement.
Yeah, well, when you give people two options, then there is no third option.
I don't know, it's weird, because like, I'd almost like to think that advertisements should technically be pretty obvious and easy to pick out, you know?
Mm-hmm, sure.
Like, I can watch a video and say, like, okay, this is clearly an advertisement for a game. But, I don't know, it's weird.
Interesting to see, for sure. And, I mean, if there is somebody over there who is, you're right, it is cynical, but at the same time, a genius move for somebody, because it looks like on its face, I mean, if we didn't think about it for another 15 minutes, we would have said, hey, that's a cool, very nice, consumer-focused sort of move there.
Yeah, it's true. It's like, oh, this is great. Well, I'm wondering, because I was at GameStop, over the weekend picking up Pokemon Sun and Moon, and I was realizing that nowadays I'm seeing a lot more kind of like gaming cult of personality endorsements rather than like the score reviews. So like,
oh sure, yeah,
you'll see games advertised like a GameStop or things like that, and like they'll have the big banner, but instead of saying like, oh, 9 out of 10 from IGN, it says like, well, great jump scares by Swirly 13, or like, hey, this is what a fun game this was by like random YouTuber.
Sure, yeah, there's definitely a move away from the focus on actual criticism and more towards endorsement. I agree.
Plus, I think they're kind of realizing that things like Twitch and I guess content creation in general by community is more popular now than ever, and it keeps just getting more traction. So they're kind of maybe just trying to jump on the forefront of that. I
mean, that's always fueled so much stuff. Like, I want to like the things that this person I likes.
Yeah,
that's the way more of an income stream than the critics said that this was a good, or the critics said this was bad. So, and plus, it's less professional also at the same time.
That's true. So, interesting.
There's definitely a big shift. Yep. I'm sorry you had to actually go to GameStop.
Dude, it's weird. Brick and mortar things are weird.
I did. I went up there like maybe a week ago to buy that the Elite controller.
Right.
Just for the PC. I don't even have an Xbox. I went in there and I had this weird moment of two things, me in the opposite situation twice, like interference versus non-interference. Mm-hmm. I go in there and the guy, I don't like it when they try to talk to me. So the exchange I had with this guy was very short. I just pointed at the wall. I was like, I want that, give me that, and I need the Wi-Fi adapter. And he takes it and he starts to ring me up. And then his manager comes in. And his manager, like in the middle of this transaction I'm having with this employee, his manager's like, yo, man, what's up with all these boxes? You were supposed to break these down while I was on my lunch break. What's going on? And I was like, I actually had we've been talking for a while. I was trying to decide whether to buy this controller or not. And I just couldn't make up my mind about it. And this guy was really helpful walking me through all the features.
Stand up for the little guy.
Yeah. And I just like a switch just instantly flipped. And I did that. And then the manager was like, oh, well. Okay then, and just left. And so like that was me. I don't know why I did that. I guess I just thought it would be funny. And then immediately after that, this old lady comes in, and this seems like the longest transaction ever, but these events happened like within 45 seconds of each other. And this old lady comes in, and she's talking to the other guy about how she wants to get a copy of Mafia 3 for her grandson. But she doesn't know exactly what it is, and she doesn't know exactly how to ask for what she's asking for. And I'm like, man, this little shit is just getting his grandma to go buy it because he's not 18.
Right. Yeah, that does happen a lot.
And she has no idea, and she's probably doesn't even know what he's playing. But in that case, I was like, hands off. I was like, I'm
not my problem.
Yeah, not my problem. I'm almost out of here. And so, I mean, like, that was weird because it was like two sides of the same coin. Like, do I jump in here or not? And in one case, I was like, yeah, sure. In the other case, I was like, nope, I'm good.
I mean, it could also be like in the, it was self-interest, I think. Like in the interest of self-preservation, because that first like interaction really did concern you immediately because the guy was ringing you up and he was suddenly, your quick transaction got interrupted by this manager. So
yeah, that's probably true.
In a way, you're like, I don't need to fucking deal with this. Get out of here. So you jumped in the way to kind of like make your situation more manageable. But then when that old lady walks in, you're like, this has nothing to do with me.
This is going to keep me in the store for another 15 minutes.
Right. I'm out.
Oh man, I hope I'm not that self-serving. But it was just weird. I mean, I guess it was exactly the kind of weird stuff I expect to happen going into a GameStop.
Oh, dude, GameStop's just a weird company in general. I don't know if it was like that where you went, but I guess ever since because you heard about GameStop actually bought out ThinkGeek.
I did not hear that. Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, so ThinkGeek actually was having some major issues to the point where, like, I think the company went up for sale because I guess its stocks it was just not a profitable company.
Wow, I think of them as like an internet staple.
That's what I thought, but apparently they weren't doing well enough. And then ThinkGeek actually ended up getting bought out by GameStop, and I guess it saved the company. But as a result, at least in my area, so all the GameStops you go to, they are just inundated with ThinkGeek merchandise. Just like you walk in there, it feels like you're almost at like a more nerdy, like a less goth Hot Topic. Because there's T-shirts, there's like foam Minecraft swords, there's like action figures, there's everything you can get on ThinkGeek, and then there's like, and that's at the forefront of the store, and then in the very back corner there's some video games.
Do you think that's the move to digital that's doing that?
It could. What do you mean, like for video games?
Yeah, well, when I went, they had like iPods and stuff.
I think for sure, GameStop, I think is realizing that the digital trend, and this has been going on since back when I used to work there. But I mean, when I was working there, that's when they first started like going into like the secondhand phone market with like buying iPhones and all that stuff. And it's funny because when I went to pick up Pokemon, I was getting checked out, and the phone rang, and the guy picked up the phone. And the first thing he said is, "Thank you for calling GameStop. We buy, sell, and use games, and you can and Cricket wireless service activations."
And we don't have the classic NES, and no store in
Right.
5 states does.
Yeah, but like, but they're like the whole Cricket wireless station was like part of their standard greeting now. I was like, damn, really?
That's weird. That Cricket Wireless is like a Walmart thing.
Yeah, no, but GameStop's in it, and
Trying to diversify.
yeah, but I know when I was working there, like there was a lot of talks, I guess, from the district level and up, that they were saying that we really needed to work on getting people into the like foot traffic into the store. And they try making this whole thing about how like we don't care about the digital sales, like we really want the people to walk in the store, they come in for you guys. And I know like that, I remember because they actually said this at GameStop conference, but they said that I know what it's like when you have like the really fat acne riddled kids walk in there, but they're the people we want walking in our stores because they're the ones that need you. But no, I mean, there's a very real like concern that I think they knew that digital was kind of the way it was going, and that used game sales just weren't bringing as much profit as they used to.
Yeah, I mean, you can still. That's still the only place that you can like get money for a copy of a thing that you have.
Well, that's where you can get cash.
Yeah,
and I think they know that too. So I mean, it's funny because before I left, one of the things that a lot of the employees were complaining about was that they felt GameStop was becoming pretty much a pawn shop. Because I remember like another thing, we had a directive from corporate actually saying that, hey, make sure you emphasize that you can get cash on all your trades now. Because again, like I said, like they want people coming in because I guess it just wasn't a big appeal anymore. So I guess bringing it back to around, the whole Think Geek partnership and carrying the Think Geek merchandise in store, I think it kind of ties into that where there's more focus on digital sales and not as much as like the brick and mortar hard copy. So I think that's kind of a way for them to offset that cost, especially when you think of it, to the fact that they're not just carrying that retail like t-shirts, clothing, like miscellaneous accessories, but now that they're also carrying, like mobile phones and Cricket wireless activations.
Yeah, and Funko Pops, I guess, also.
Funko Pops and like whatever those weird mystery ball things are that like you open them up and it's got a mystery action figure.
Yeah, it's weird. It was just a very weird place to be. It'd been a very long time since I'd been into one of those.
Definitely didn't feel like the old like GameStop used to go into.
I guess we'll see. What happens. I like the digital stuff, man. I like it way better.
It's super convenient.
It is super convenient. But none of that is news. So that was our third segment. What's up with GameStop?
Yeah. Well, we'll have like a mystery segment every week now that's just, random conversation.
All right. I guess we're going to take that and we're going to go ahead and get out of here. Thank you so much for listening this week. As always, you can find us online, selectcharacters@gmail.com. Drop by the Discord channel. Send us your questions, comments, thoughts. We actually had one guy in the Discord talking about the resurgence of 90s type shooters games.
Yes.
Which I agree with him. I think it's a great thing.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. But like I said, I made a comment how it feels weird because they're not necessarily. I don't know. It almost feels like $60 is too much for that.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, if you were then at a point where you had to add content to reach a point where you thought it was $60, that would be too much.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's weird because I think it's like that weird area where a lot of these shoot like they don't just make a regular single player shooter campaign that you buy and that's it. It's they're usually venues for multiplayer game with a campaign attached to them.
Yeah, that was Gilgamesh in the Discord channel. Got us talking about some old school shooters.
90s shooters. But, I mean, they are fun. Wolfenstein, I strongly recommend to anybody that hasn't played it yet. It's probably one of it's a really fun, solid shooter, and it won't make you nauseous.
It seems like all this stuff is just like the continued, like Serious Sam did it maybe too early.
Yeah, because I played a couple of titles. Like they weren't bad, but I don't remember ever them like taking off in popularity.
There's always something to be said for jumping into something and just shooting people for a little while.
Right.
It's good. It's good stuff, and it will always be good stuff.
I mean, that's why Far Cry is such a fun title. Regardless if they recycle maps or they don't really innovate, I mean, it's still a really fun, solid shooter to pick up.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right. Outside of that tangent, I did want to hit that real quick, but yeah, selectcharacters@gmail.com, Discord channel. Find us on iTunes or wherever your podcasting service of choice is. Give us a 5-star rating. We do appreciate it. And I think that's all I got for you. So we will see you next week.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
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 Next week.
All right.